Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I'm so excited to be here with Sam Previte from Find Food Freedom.
Thanks for having me. It's so nice to meet you in real life.
It's so nice to meet you. It's so funny on social media these days. You just feel like you know everyone that you follow.
Yes.
Like it's just, I mean, unless someone's like heavily filtered, which is like
Yes, which happens
and not okay.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last night I went to dinner with some friends and my cousins are like, "Oh, what podcast are you going on tomorrow?" And I was like, "We met at Acme." They're like, "Shut up. We love Lindsay." And I
Oh,
was like,
that's so
"I'll
cute.
tell her tomorrow."
I love
So,
that.
you're loved.
What is your favorite romantic gesture?
Ooh. This is going to sound so lame, but as a mama, new mama, I love like when my husband cleans the house. That doesn't sound like a romantic gesture, but I'm like, oh my gosh, he really loves me.
That's romantic to me. Like without kids, it's romantic. I
Yes,
feel
that's true.
it's like your if your love language is acts of service.
Yes, it must be.
Yeah, then that's hot.
Yes, like when he cleans the house, I'm like, oh my God, I've never loved you more.
Yeah, totally. Backing up a little bit, how old are you and where are you from?
So I'm 32 years old, and I was like, I feel like when people ask where are you from, I currently reside in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, which is like near Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up my whole life in Pittsburgh, PA. And then my husband and I were out here. We were in Hoboken for a bit before we moved down to Florida.
Nice. And what is, I mean, you just kind of said it, but your current relationship status?
I'm married woman of almost, gosh, it'll be 6 years in August.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is definitely something to celebrate. 6 years of marriage.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And how did you get started with nutrition? Like, what is your kind of origin story? You're like, like the Superman on the street story.
So I think like a lot. So I am a registered dietitian. So a lot of dietitians go into the field because they are disordered or have like a funky relationship with food. And so I remember I went to college knowing I wanted to help people. So I thought maybe like nursing, maybe teaching. I didn't really know what a dietitian was, but I was on this like quest of how do I lose weight and like then I'll love myself and have the answer to life basically. And went through college extremely disordered, would restrict entire food groups, also like binge drinking was a very much part of my college experience, like most. And I graduated college. I ended up doing a nutrition degree with a minor in kinesiology, which is like the study of like fitness studies. So I'm also a personal trainer, side note. So I had this love for the human body and how what we put in it affects us so much in our relationship to food and movement. But yet I graduated college the most disordered. So I got this degree and I felt like such an imposter because I was like, how can I be going off to eventually work with people and tell them how to be the healthiest version of themselves when I myself was so unhealthy? So fast forward a few years, I became a registered dietitian. You sit for a national board, you go through clinical rotations and all those things. And I still didn't have the magic answer. I was like, I hate my body. I have a very terrible relationship with food. And it wasn't until I was introduced to intuitive eating, which is what I now practice. So I'm a certified intuitive eating counselor. And really, the mission behind that is to learn how to trust your body again. And the purpose of it is not intentional weight loss. So it's learning how to really be attuned with inner sensations in your body and just really how to feel your most pleasant physically, mentally, emotionally. So I had a lot of unlearning to do. I had a lot of learning to do. And now I've been working as an intuitive eating counselor and helping people heal their relationship with food and body for over 4 years now. And it's just been remarkable to see that. So I just took this question all over the place, but I feel like when people are like, how did you get started in nutrition? Like it started from such a disordered place and so lucky that it has developed into this like beautiful relationship now, but it was not always like that.
Yeah, it's so on point that you said that about most dietitians or nutritionists were at one point disordered.
Yes.
And I feel like that's so important to note because there's just so much information out there. And it's
so
like
much.
everyone is doing these like infographics of like how to lose weight. the healthy way, or how to lose weight in 10 minutes or whatever
or
it is.
anti-inflammatory this, or now the Ozempic trends, and like it's just
and
fucking
it's just
wild.
like looking at it, it's so dangerous because it's like, is this person who technically has this like coaching degree or whatever license, are they coming from a place of still being in their disorder? And like, who should I listen to?
So many are like, as someone who works with people with eating disorder and chronic dieting, it's so easy to spot now. Like your red flag, green flag. We could do a whole like thing on that with dieting, of just like when you see something, it's like, oh, no, that's not coming from a good place, unfortunately.
Right. So how do you know the difference? Because we just see so much noise. We see so many what I eat in a day. We see all of this stuff, sample meals. Like, how do we know what is legit and what isn't?
It's a great question. I think the easiest answer, like the first thing that comes to mind, if someone is coming from an authoritative place of like, let me tell you how to eat, or eat like me and you'll look like me. Like, so the what I eat in a day videos, they usually start with someone like lifting up their shirt and showcasing like a 6-pack or an 8-pack. If they're doing that, like red flag, like, no. We don't need to eat like anybody else. We're all so different and individualized. So anyone that's coming from an authoritative place of saying, you need to do this, right? You need to do this diet. You need to follow this meal plan. No, because I like to let people know that even as a dietitian and intuitive eating counselor, it's not my job to fix people. Like what I do is I sit with people, I hold space for them, I listen to them, I say, how can I help you? And I help them trust their body again. And I think that's something that in diet culture, everything is external. We're trusting a calorie count, a macro range, a meal plan, a fast, a book, fucking Gwyneth Paltrow's IV diet, whatever it is. So anything that's a green flag is, how do you trust yourself again and find someone who can help you do that?
Yeah. But in trusting yourself, like so many things come up, because you mention, intuitive eating, but what if you want to lose weight?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like, how can you do both?
This is the $1 million question. So that's actually another great red flag, that if you have someone that is promoting intuitive eating and intentional weight loss, run the other way. Because the purpose of intuitive eating is not intentional weight loss. And I think people struggle with that because they're like, well, then why would I do it? Because our entire fat phobic society tells us smaller is better, smaller is healthier, smaller you'll be more loved and accepted. So we really need to come back to, why do you want to lose weight? Like when someone tells me they want to lose weight, I don't judge them. I don't shame them. I'm not like, you're not allowed to do that. You have full body autonomy to do whatever you want. But why? And what's the answer that comes up? Because a lot of the times the two main answers we're going to get, one, to better your health. I'm using heavy air quotes because we know that weight and health, those don't equal each other. Because if that were true, then that means that everybody that resided in a larger body would be very unhealthy and have all the diseases. And then anybody that resided in a straight sized or thin body wouldn't have any diseases, right? So if we genuinely want to improve our health, there's so many things that we can do uncoupled from intentionally changing the size of our body. So as an intuitive eating counselor, if somebody naturally loses weight through intuitive eating, we just see it as neutral. We come from a weight neutral perspective. And oftentimes people will lose weight during intuitive eating. Sometimes they maintain weight, sometimes they gain weight. But we don't look at any of those as something we need to celebrate or shame or be mad about. And then that second reason I often find people want to lose weight is they think, if I lose weight, I'll love myself. I'll be more confident. I'll get the guy. I'll get the girl. I'll get the partner. I'll get the job. And we know that body image doesn't work that way. Body image has everything to do with the brain and nothing to do with the physical body. And an example I like to give with this is, if anyone has ever weight cycled, so like yo-yo dieting, right? We lose weight, we gain weight, we lose weight. I'll ask them, okay, when you were in that smaller body, or when you were in a body that you felt is better than the one you have now, when you look back at a picture of yourself, in that moment with that version of you, did you wake up and look in the mirror every day and say, I love myself? Like, this is perfect. I'm perfect the way I am. And 99.9% of the time, people will say, no, it was never good enough. And that's because we can't hate our way to happiness. We can't wake up every morning and look in the mirror and be like, if I just make my arms smaller, if I just shrink my tummy, if I just do this. And so a part of intuitive eating is learning how to accept your body, feel neutral about your body, because our body is the least important thing about us. Like it's the least interesting thing about us. We're so dense as humans. So coming back to your question, intuitive eating, the purpose of it is not intentional weight loss. And I think it's so hard for people to grasp because of the way that we define health and because of how fat phobic our society is.
But why can't it be okay to want to lose weight? Like,
yes,
so
great
why
question.
does it have to be like you're the devil? How dare you? You're fat phobic if you want to lose weight. Why can't it just be simply because I gained weight and my clothes don't fit me and I feel better at the weight that I was before?
Yeah.
And it just like makes me happier. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
When I'm this weight that I usually am, but I'm thinking about it, let's say, right?
Yeah.
When I'm 10 pounds over or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? Like, why can't it be as simple as that?
That's a great question. So I think it comes back to understanding that dieting is the number one predictor of eating disorder. We also know that dieting is the number one predictor of weight gain, which seems like a mind fuck when you think about it, because it's like, okay, I go on diets, or I diet as a human, right? People go on diets to lose weight. But then we know that through the research, 2/3 of dieters will gain back more weight than they originally lose. So it's a really slippery slope. But also, when people say that, like, that's valid, right? If someone's like, I feel better in this body, or I felt better, then again, I'm like that little kid who's always like, why? Why? Like, let's keep digging there.
Yeah.
Was it because you were moving your body in a way that you enjoyed? Was it because you were consuming more nutrient dense foods and those make you feel pleasant? Was it because you were prioritizing sleep? Was it because you were going to therapy and managing your stress, right? And so again, this comes back to that conversation of bettering our health. When we look at the determinants of health out of the World Health Organization, when it comes to what we eat, sleep, stress management, movement, all of these things we can work on uncoupled from changing our body. So going back to your question, it's just from a different paradigm, a different lens, because we know that when we focus on weight loss, it's a very slippery slope. It creates shame because it tells us, okay, this smaller body's a better body then. When people are supposed to have different sized bodies, and body diversity is a thing. But I want to also stress that if someone comes to me and they're like, yeah, all that sounds great that you're talking about, but I don't give a fuck, I just want to lose weight, I'm not the person to help them.
Right,
It's just coming from a completely different space. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Like, and I want people to hear that as an intuitive eating professional. I don't shame people that want to intentionally lose weight, because we live again in this fat phobic world that what happens when you lose weight? Everyone says, oh, you look so good. Oh, what are you doing? Keep it up. Oh my gosh, you look amazing. Well, what if they're starving themselves? What if they're going through chemo? What if they have an eating disorder? So it's this hierarchy placed on a body size that I just don't align with anymore, because I've seen so much harm with it.
Yeah, it's so true about the like, you look amazing and all those comments. It's like, but then at the same time, it's like, do you just not tell somebody if you think they look a certain way? It's so hard, right?
It's so hard because
like,
we're trained to do it.
Right. And it's also like, I don't know, let's say I saw my friend who like wasn't happy with her own body.
Yes.
And she looks in a way that I know that she would be happy with.
Yes.
And let's say I said, you look amazing. And let's say she was like, why?
So
then what?
That's a great
right?
question. So we actually work on this in session with clients all the time, is reframing compliments to come away from the body. Because, and you may feel this way too, like when you get a compliment from someone, like you haven't seen a friend in a while, and they're like, she's like, oh my God, you look amazing. And you're like, thanks. Like, but what if she said, like, Lindsay, you light up the room when you come in, or like your
You're
energy
glowing.
is so like infectious. Like that is the compliment. And that can be true no matter what sized body we live in, right? You can think of probably 15 different people in your head right now that live in all different size bodies that you could say that compliment for. And so it's just reframing. And even if it meant so much to that person to lose weight, because again, they might be on their own journey, I still do not, at this point in my career, in my life, in the work that I've done, I do not acknowledge body size changes, even if that person wanted it. Now, if they come to me outwardly and like, did you notice I lost weight? Like, then I would say, I don't acknowledge body size change because I loved you in the body that you were in before. I love you now. And your body's going to continue to change for the rest of your life because we're humans and our bodies change.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, because you did mention your struggle with disordered eating, was your body then very different than your body today?
Such a great question. So it's funny, I don't usually show this or talk about this on social because it can be perceived as she's promoting intentional weight loss. When I was in a very disordered state, I did reside in a larger body for myself. So what I mean by that is like I was I don't usually give like pound numbers for trigger warnings, but I was X amount of pounds heavier because I was binge eating, because I was binge drinking, right? Because I was doing things that affected me in a certain way. As I became an intuitive eater, I unintentionally lost weight. That was never a focus for me. But as a professional, I do not promote that or do like a before and after, because what does that insinuate? That weight loss is the result. And I have many clients that I've worked with that don't lose weight. They actually need to gain weight to be healthier. So we don't want to celebrate something. I don't know if you've ever seen Brittany Lancaster on TikTok. She's a fabulous creator that actually talks about her body has visibly changed to her creators. She struggled with an eating disorder, and she does a really beautiful way of addressing that and letting people know, like, I'm not sick. I'm not falling back into restriction. I've taken up marathon running and my body's changing, but I'm still prioritizing my health. And so bodies are allowed to change is what I'm getting at, but it doesn't have to be the focus.
Yeah. The question that came up the most was, what are the first things that you can do if you're learning intuitive eating? Like you're just like someone who's like, I have never intuitively ate. I eat at 9, I eat at 12, and I eat at 6 because that's when I think I'm supposed to eat. And I eat what's in front of me because it's there. Like what are the first steps?
Yeah, well, I think really it comes down to, why do you want to do intuitive eating? Like intuitive eating is just eating if diet culture didn't exist. So like some people are naturally intuitive eaters. Now it's very rare to find that nowadays with diet culture because most people can list at least like 10 diets they've done and they still follow these little like rules or things that they feel like they have to do or should do. But I invite people to get really curious about their relationship with food first. Do you feel guilt and shame when you're eating a specific food, a specific amount of food? Do you have rules around food? Like if we put like, let's say a piece of paper and wrote food rules on it and we did a little like flow chart or a little, spider web, do you have rules around food? Where did these come from? So before you even start the intuitive eating process, getting really honest with yourself of what is my relationship with food. Is it enhancing my life and bringing me joy and making me feel pleasant? Or is it actually really stressing me out and not adding any value to my life? And then from there, we can kind of see, okay, where do we need to go from here?
That's really interesting. It's funny because I think about my own relationship with food and I feel really lucky because I don't know. It's hard to word it because like it's, just such a sensitive topic, but like I come from a genetic pool where like, we can eat and not feel uncomfortable in our bodies.
Yeah.
Like I hope that was worded correctly.
Well, in a way I would say it and how we would say it in practice, you
Yeah.
have thin privilege. You reside in a straight size body and no matter what you do, you're going to probably be around the same size.
Yeah.
And so just like that, there are people that reside in fat bodies. And when I say fat bodies, I mean it as a neutral descriptor, right? They live in larger bodies. And no matter what they do, they're going to be in a larger body.
Right.
So yeah, that makes total sense.
It's true. And I forgot where I was going with
I'm
this.
sorry.
No, you're fine. That was really helpful. I'm just like, what am I saying? Oh, yes. Okay. And what I'm saying is that I am obsessed with food, but not in a way that like is unhealthy.
Yeah.
I just love food.
That's amazing.
Like, when I go to I'm going to dinner tonight before a Broadway show.
Wait, I'm going to a Broadway show tonight.
Oh my God, Parade?
Oh, I'm going to Aladdin.
Oh, that's so cute. With your baby?
No, my baby's not here. This is a mama's trip. So one of my girlfriends from Hoboken is coming over.
I love
we're
that.
going over.
And we're going to a restaurant before.
Yeah.
And of course I looked up the menu on Monday because I'm so excited.
That is a green flag.
Okay.
Lindsay, I'm going to use your verbiage here. Like being excited about food, green flag all the way.
Cool. Yeah, like I get excited about my breakfast at night. But it's funny because my husband never thinks about food. Like ever.
Also a green flag.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's so interesting like to have, two people like that in a relationship. Like sometimes like if I don't put, and I wonder what you think of people like this, if I don't like put food in front of him, like he might not eat.
Yeah.
But it's not because
he's trying to restrict.
Exactly.
Yes. So that also, again, green flag of when we have obsession with thoughts of food, calorie counts, meal plans, when is my next meal, in the sense of like, what am I allowed to eat kind of thing, that is a huge red flag of like, this is not normal. Because when we're consistently fed, we usually won't have obsession about food. People like your husband, it's very common. And so we even work with those kind of clients that it's like, okay, do we need reminders to eat? And again, that's not a bad thing. Again, it comes back to your intention behind your behaviors. Every listener to this podcast has a different relationship with food and a different intention. So for someone, right, let's use your husband's example, someone not eating a meal, their intention may be to try to shrink their body and eat the least amount of calories possible. That's disordered.
Right.
Your husband, his intention is like, I forgot to eat. There's nothing disordered about that.
Yeah.
But we might need a little bit of help.
Insane.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, oh, those people that just never think about food. But yeah, those aren't bad things by any means.
Yeah. Another thing that came up a ton, and I have struggled with this in relationships. So a few different ways of phrasing it. These are other people's words.
Okay.
Somebody said how to not gain a relationship 15 when living together, how to listen to your own hunger cues versus someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this also goes to like even eating out with a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I'm out to lunch with a friend, like I might have just had breakfast like an hour ago, but that was the time that worked for this friend.
Yes.
So let's say I get there and I'm not hungry, but I feel like socially pressured to eat with this person, but I'm not hungry. So like that situation. And then also I'm in a new relationship and, my husband is 6'4" and has a totally different appetite than I do. But because we're in this new relationship, we're like doing everything together and like, we're ordering Shake Shack together, but like, maybe I don't want Shake Shack. Maybe I'm like not someone that feels comfortable enough in my relationship yet to be like, I'm actually going to order Sweet Green. Like you get Shake Shack. Yeah. And cause I don't want to not be that like cool girl, which we know doesn't exist anyway.
Correct. So I would love to just like offer the reframe so I don't come off the wrong way of like, I don't think there's anything wrong with gaining weight in a relationship, but I understand the question of like, how do you prioritize yourself and your own hunger? Let's use an example. Dana, your amazing sister-in-law, was just here. We just went to lunch before this. She was texting me all these different places, like, where do you want to go? And I was like, I actually had a pretty late night last night and I'm a little slow moving this morning. So I'm eating breakfast right now while I'm getting ready. So wherever we go, I'm happy to go. I'm not going to eat because I'm just not hungry right now. Like I'm literally eating and I'm going to meet you in like 15 minutes, right? So the old me would have never been able to do that because I'm a people pleaser and I feel like I need to performative eat, like show up and eat because it's the social thing. But now as an intuitive eater, I'm like, no, I'm eating right now. Sorry. Like, but I'm still going to show up and order a coffee or a Coke or a water and like connect with you because my purpose of coming to lunch is connection. Now, does that happen often? No, because usually like breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, timing of things that flow out, like I would love to be a part of the eating experience. But it's coming back to, can you trust yourself and your cues first? I always like to say, like, my plate, my business. It doesn't matter what the fuck anyone else thinks about your decisions around food as long as you are comfortable and confident with them.
Yeah.
But that's really hard sometimes.
It's really hard. So I'm thinking about this comparison. I'm curious what you think.
Okay.
So I'm sober,
Mhm.
and a lot of times when someone's newly getting sober, they're
Mhm.
nervous about going out to eat with someone and someone, being like, why aren't you drinking? Things like
Yes.
that. And a lot of times we hear in sobriety, if somebody's noticing that you're not drinking, like the more they notice, the more they
Mhm.
comment on it, the more likely it is that they themselves have a problem with alcohol.
Mhm.
Would you agree that if somebody's looking at your plate, if somebody's like, why aren't you finishing that? If somebody's like, why did you order that if you're only
Yeah.
going to have a few bites? Or
Yeah.
are you going to eat? That is, again, more of a reflection of their relationship with food, similar to the
Yes.
relationship with alcohol that I mentioned.
Great question. Also, I'm like sober curious right now, so I didn't know that about you, and I'm like so excited to hear that. Um, so it's a little different because food are is encompassed of nutrients that we need to live and survive, right? Versus alcohol we do not need. It's, something we put in our body that's toxic and it doesn't usually have many health benefits at all. Again, no shame to people if they choose to drink because I do too. But when we think about food, I want you to think about, yes, it is a reflection of their relationship to food. So if someone's making comments about your plate, it's because of how they relate to food. If we go back to my example with your wonderful sister-in-law, Dana Green, she has a great relationship with food. She's like, no worries. I'm just like so excited to see you. And like she's like, oh, you don't have room for 18 meals in a day when you're in New York? And I'm like, no, I wish, because I'm meeting with all these people. And we carried on and had like great conversation. So I love that you brought that up because I often tell clients when people make comments about food or body to you, whether it's about your food or your body, it's a direct reflection of their relationship with food or their relationship with self. And we can't live our lives trying to appease others, right? Or trying not to disappoint others because we'll always then disappoint ourselves in that process.
Yeah, it's so true. But it's such a fine line because it's like, let's say you go to a girls' dinner and your friend who like does have a healthy relationship with food as far as you know, all of a sudden has like one bite the entire dinner. Like, even if you're somebody that doesn't notice those things, something like that, for example, would be like, okay, what's going on here?
Red flag.
Yeah.
And so I think it comes back to that intention, right? Because if she really is a good friend, then you can say, Lindsay, like, hey, I love you and care about you. So I just want to make sure like that you are eating, you're not purposely restricting. Like if you are, there's no judgment or shame here. And I would love to talk about it or hold space for you if that's something you want to talk about.
Yeah.
That's very different than why aren't you eating? Like you only took one bite. See like
Right.
that difference. And so also the intention, like I gave the example of me with Dana where I was like eating breakfast right before we went. If I came to lunch with her and was like, I'm actually intermittent fasting and I don't eat for 12 hours and I'm not allowed to eat, so sorry, like I can't eat right now. Very different intention of why you're choosing not to eat.
Yeah, totally. What are your thoughts on meal timing? Like 3 big meals versus snacking versus like small meals? I have a feeling your answer is going to be like whatever you're feeling, but what do you think?
So definitely whatever you're feeling, because you probably have felt sometimes where there's days where you wake up and you're like, and maybe not you, because I know you said you love your food and you're always looking forward to it. But if you had like a late dinner with friends or something, you might wake up and you're like, I'm just like genuinely not that hungry right now. that's normal. So allowing yourself that unconditional permission to choose when you want to eat, what you want to eat, how much you want to eat. But with that being said, generally speaking, the body loves to be consistently fed and nourished. So we know that the human body, if we just look at the organs alone, takes about 1,300, a little over 1,300 calories per day just to keep the organs functioning. That doesn't give you any additional energy, like for movement or anything. So you see all these 1,200 calorie diets that have like sparked over the years. That's the nutritional needs of a 2-year-old. So it's important to recognize when we're looking at timing and frequency. Yes, should you be consistently fed? Sure. I tell people don't go really long periods of time without eating, but we're also not robots, and you live your life and have social events and different things. So if you notice in a moment that you're like, I'm actually not genuinely hungry right now, then that's okay. But I often find people are like, well, what does hunger feel like? Because we're so brainwashed to follow a plan, a calorie count. So again, with intuitive eating, we learn how to listen to our hunger cues, how to pay attention to what our body actually wants.
Well, what does hunger feel like?
It's a great question. So I'm going to turn it right back on you. How do you know when you're hungry? If you had to explain it to me, pretend that I am like a robot and I'm like, Lindsay, how do you feel hunger? How do you experience it?
I would say my stomach and my brain at the same time are like food.
Yeah, absolutely. Thoughts about food, where's food, getting to food might be, everyone describes it differently, right? Because we all experience it differently too. Could be like stomach pains or growling or like an emptiness feeling, like a hollow feeling. Could be irritability. Like hangry is like a real thing. It's actually a word in the dictionary, right? So you like, if maybe your husband's like, oh, like I'm running late, and you're like, no, we need to get to dinner like now.
Oh, yeah,
I'm fucking hungry.
That's how I know also.
There you go, right? So these are things that when I will work with clients in the beginning, they don't even recognize that that's hunger. They think like maybe they're just more of an irritable person or they're anxious, when it's like, no, if you were fed and nourished, you'd be like maybe a little more happy and chill.
Right.
So sometimes it's just learning what our hunger cues are and learning to, again, trust our body, because diets have told us you're not allowed to eat at this time, right? You can only have this food. You can only have this calorie count. And then we don't listen to ourselves because we're putting all the emphasis on the external.
Right. It's so true. It's like if hangriness wasn't a thing, then like, why am I dancing while I'm eating? Like, why am I like singing and like, like that? It's just like instant hunger. It's so funny. This morning I made myself eggs, bacon, avocado, and fruit.
Love that.
Because I was just like, that's kind of been like my go-to breakfast recently. But bacon goes in and out. Like I'm sometimes really wanting it and sometimes not, but I wanted it. And I was eating bacon and I was just like, I am savoring every fucking part of this bacon. Like it is so good.
Love
like
bacon.
When bacon's in your mouth, like I think actually.
Are you like a crispy bacon girl too? Or how do you like it?
I go back and forth. I like sometimes like a less well done, and then sometimes I like a crispy. It depends on the bacon type.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm a crispy bacon girl through and through.
But I think it was, I do love crispy, but Steven told me some quote once. I forgot what it's from, but it's like, when bacon's in your mouth, who cares who's president or something like that. And it's so true.
Very true.
It's so true. Okay, another thing that came up was about, so for women, like women, not especially, women, period, no pun intended, for your period.
Okay.
When you are feeling bloated before and after. Also, when you are in the throes of your period, like intuitive eating, it's confusing because I feel like our body needs different things around that time. This person is basically asking what to really do for that bloating if they want to do something about it.
I think normalize it. The female body is so nuanced. There's so much complexity to it, and it's normal for bloating to happen. And I understand that it's not fun, right? Just random fact of something that is along the lines of a woman's period. I've gone through 3 rounds of IVF. You want to talk about bloating? If you ever retrieve your eggs, holy shit. But I think it's recognizing like, okay, there's something happening in my body. Can I be a neutral observer and kind of like come outside my body instead of being like, this is bad, I need to fix it? If we know this happens every month, can it be like, okay, how would I support a friend? Like if you came to me and you're like, I'm so bloated. If I'd be like, Lindsay, you really need to like fix that bloating situation, you'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with Sammy? So can we reframe our self-talk during our period and be like, this sucks, but like I need to be compassionate towards myself. I need to eat the things that I'm craving. I need to take care of myself. I need to nourish myself. I need to hydrate. Of course, there are things that can make us feel more pleasant. But really, my first like gut reaction to that question was, can we reframe the self-talk and just normalize that like as women, we're gonna be bloated.
I meant to ask you, by the way, when's your birthday?
January 21st. I'm an Aquarius.
Oh my God, love. Will you tell us the story of your viral cream cheese bagel video?
God, that is so funny. I was creating a TikTok like I do most days. I work from home, and I was just like, woke up on a Saturday and I had a thought about how like old versions of me in diet culture would be like, you're not allowed to have a bagel, or like you need to scoop out the middle of your bagel, like you're not allowed. So I was like, let's make a video. And I was like, this is a friendly reminder that if you want a bagel and cream cheese, eat a bagel and cream cheese. That was the moral of the story. And then it came to be that people were like, she doesn't have enough cream cheese on her bagel. And it was like this viral roast and debate about the right amount of cream cheese. Then New York and New Jersey really started heavily coming into my TikTok being like, you don't have enough cream cheese. You need to have cream cheese and like, you know, inches thick. So, and then people like comedians and people started stitching it. And I was like, I'm never going to escape this.
That's so funny.
But it's, you know, it's funny because people that know me or know my message were like, you shouldn't be shaming her for how much cream cheese. Like she can choose her amount.
Right.
But it's okay. It was all in good fun.
Do you still get like any sort of hate when you're delivering your message of intuitive eating?
Every day.
From like just what's an example of something that someone might say?
Oh gosh, where do we start? I should have prepped some for you. Who gave you a degree? You're the reason America's fat. You're the reason people are unhealthy. How can you? But I want to be very clear about, I hold a lot of privileges. Like I'm a straight, white, cisgendered, heterosexual, able-bodied woman. So I can come on the internet and say like, you have unconditional permission to eat. And people are like, yeah, girl, food freedom. Like that's the majority of the comments. But then I have colleagues that are very, very amazing at what they do that reside in a larger body that they'll say the exact same message as me. And they're the ones getting the true hate, discrimination, people telling them that they should kill themselves. And that, sorry, I just took like a very deep turn, but I just wanted to make sure we address like my hate is never like discriminatory against me because I am deemed like normal or like what you should look like. So it's very different from people that are getting like true discrimination and oppression for the size of their body.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, do you get hate on the internet?
Oh my God.
Right?
I feel like you're doing something wrong if you're getting no hate, right? Another question that came up a lot, and I know that your like view is like no one needs to lose weight. But this person wants to know, like, you know, they want to feel better in their body, but they can't lose weight. They can't find the cues of hunger. They have something like PCOS or diabetes or something that has inhibited them from getting in touch with if they're actually hungry, if they, you know, whatever it is, then what?
So I think we need to ask ourselves, so are you saying like, how do they lose weight? I'm sorry, let me make sure I'm understanding the question.
How can they intuitively eat when their body's telling them all the time that they're hungry? How are they supposed to trust their intuition when it's untrustworthy?
So there's a lot of layers to this question that we could unpack, but I think one of the things I would look at is first of all, what's their relationship with food? So for example, like I have many clients that have medical diseases and conditions because we have to remember like we are clinically dietitians. So for example, I had a client with diabetes. Let's use that. He had a hemoglobin A1C of 9.1, which is very high. This number should be below 6.0. And that tells us that his blood sugar is constantly high. And so he came to me being like, I don't even know why I came to you. You're going to tell me to not eat carbs. Like, and I was like, I'm not going to tell you to not eat carbs. And he was like, what? And he was so like astounded that I would say that. And so I'm not saying that everyone has a fucked up relationship with food, but the way that I practice, I want to look at, well, do you have guilt and shame with food? Because often people think that they're hungry all the time or they're addicted to food or they have these intense cravings when really it's just that they're restricting. And where restriction is present, binging will always follow. So we're going to first look at, can we heal your relationship with food, neutralize it, where food is just neutral. Then once we do that, we can absolutely use medical nutrition therapy. Again, never coming for intentional weight loss, but for example, for diabetes, there are things that we can do, like pair protein, carbs, and fat together at meals, eat more frequently, focus on hydration. Those are 3 things right there that will improve blood sugar control. But none of that has the intention of shrinking the body. Can the body change unintentionally? Sure. So always come back to, what is my relationship with food? If it's not a healthy one, if it's very negative, let's start there, because you can get the healthiest meal plan in the world. You're not going to follow it if you have a fucked up relationship with food. Mm-hmm. The issue isn't people are like, I don't know what foods are good for me. Can you tell me? Nobody comes to me saying that, right? So it's, can we first heal the relationship with food and then implement medical nutrition therapy from a place of genuinely wanting to improve the health?
Yeah. My last question, and then we're going to do a fun game.
Okay.
Kind of like rapid fire. But my last question, so I don't know if you've seen, I'm sure you have because you're very much in the zeitgeist in TikTok, the trend or like the videos of Almond Moms. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So an almond mom, for people who don't know what that is basically like a mom who literally eats like an almond and like like a green juice and is like, I'm stuffed. And a lot of people, especially like people my age, your age,
Mm-hmm.
our age, were raised by almond moms, or still continued to this day having
Mm-hmm.
moms who like barely eat. And who knows if that's because their moms never ate or what they learned or whatever.
Yeah.
It's Passover right now. So for example,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people are going to be with their moms, but like, let's say, I don't know when this is going to come out. Let's say there's another holiday coming up,
Yep.
or whatever it is. You're going to be around your mom. You're going to be eating meals around this person. How do you set boundaries? How do you like get away from that energy?
Yeah. This is so hard. And this is something that we work on with clients, like just like you said, with every holiday that approaches. This is what our sessions really turn into, is like how to keep yourself safe. So I think it's really important to recognize that our moms are humans too, right? And everybody has their own unique, individualized relationship with food. So a lot of work we do with clients is releasing yourself from the responsibility of changing, in this instance, changing your mom's mind about food, right? Because you have to protect your mental energy. So if you find that every time you try to push back on something your mom says about food, that you leave the conversation frustrated and defeated and like, fuck, like, why did I do that? It's better to not say anything at all sometimes. And that doesn't mean you're giving up. That doesn't mean you're losing, but you're protecting your mental energy. So boundaries are going to look different for everybody, but like 3 simple things you could do if you're at a family event. If diet talk comes up or comments, fake phone call always works. Like, oh shit, sorry, I got to take this. And we like get out of the room, just get away from it. If it's Aunt Cheryl or whoever starts spewing about a diet or whatnot, having something teed up and ready to talk about. So maybe it's like, oh, did you see this picture of my daughter? Or like my Frenchie that I took the other day? Like, I've been meaning to show you this. Like, just total redirect of the conversation. Or if it gets to a place where it feels very uncomfortable and unsafe, then maybe it is actually verbally setting a boundary of, hey, I'm working to heal my relationship with food, and you're allowed to have whatever, diet you want to be on. But I really appreciate it if we just don't talk about our restrictions around food or what diet you're on.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll respect that boundary. But boundaries are meant to keep us safe. They're not comfortable to set. As a recovering people pleaser, I have really learned that as well.
Yeah. All right, let's do some rapid fire. So these are
Okay.
going to be like one word answers. So
Okay.
true or false, vegan food is actually worse for you / more fake ingredients.
False.
I guess like smash or pass. Wellness trend, lymphatic drainage.
Pass.
I like want to know why for everything. Ozempic for people who need it.
Can I add a disclaimer on this? When you say need, like type 2 diabetes?
Yeah.
This is smash or pass still?
Yeah.
Okay. Smash if you have type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
And actually need it.
Yeah. Intermittent fasting.
Hard pass.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's, I don't know, something that you need.
Hard pass. Nobody
Okay.
needs it. There's nothing. We have food. I know I can't go on a spiel, but no, hard pass.
Okay. Eating less carbs than, or just like eating less carbs.
Pass.
Mm-hmm. Eggs.
Smash. Love me some eggs.
Acai bowls.
Smash. Love them. We have so many good little acai places in Florida.
Smoothies instead of a meal.
Oh, I need to give a disclaimer on this one, but smash if it's a well-balanced smoothie and that's what you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But not because you think you're not allowed to eat food.
Having dessert every night.
Smash if you want it.
Mm-hmm. Having like a few courses dinner when you're eating at home, or should you have just like one course dinner?
Smash depending on what you want. If that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
If your hunger is that.
The medical medium. Smash or pass?
Oh, hard pass.
IVs.
Oh, I can't do these without saying anything. Smash if you need it for hydration, and you're very dehydrated.
Something that is like a meal plan, but not a diet.
I feel like I can't say this without giving you more. Smash if it's not for intentional weight loss in a diet and you genuinely need it or want it.
Meal prepping.
Smash.
Okay. Any that I missed that you want to smash or pass?
I would just say intentional weight loss. Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're enough just as you are.
I love it. Do you have a quote or piece of advice you could share with our listeners?
I feel like I kind of just said it, but you are enough exactly as you are. And until you believe that, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about you or says to you. You need to find and really believe that within, that you're enough just as you are.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Where can everybody find you, follow you, and listen to your podcast?
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram at find.food.freedom, or TikTok is just Find Food Freedom, no dots. And then we have the Find Food Freedom podcast. And then I also co-host What the Actual Fork podcast with my co-host Jenna. And we do all things anti-diet. And we're going to have you on there as well.
I can't wait.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay.